Well, before Nicolas Maduro, there was Manuel Noriega. It was December 1989 when President George H.W. Bush ordered U.S. troops into Panama to capture the country's de facto military dictator on federal drug trafficking charges. It was called Operation Just Cause, and a young captain who you see here, Chris Costa, was working as a counterintelligence officer. The capture of Maduro occurred 36 years to the day after Noriega's surrender. A deliberate echo of historical precedent? Maybe. A far more complex geopolitical reality? Absolutely. Retired Army Colonel Chris Costa, and now Executive Director of the International Spy Museum, joins me for more perspective. Chris, great to see you. Let's talk about the capture first. Similarities and differences on how you captured Noriega and then how Delta Force captured Maduro.
Well, clearly I didn't capture Noriega myself, but what we did do is put a great deal of pressure on him by conducting an invasion. And that's the significant difference. An invasion forces, only 23,000 soldiers, 26,000 soldiers executed Operation Just Cause on the ground in Panama, conducting multiple operations to try to identify where Noriega was and bring him to justice. And of course, the operation kicked off on 20 December, a few days before Christmas. And it wasn't until 24 December when Noriega turned himself in to the Papal Nuncio, which was essentially a safe diplomatic site for him. He held up there until a couple weeks later. But the bottom line is the United States had to conduct an invasion to bring him back to justice. And we didn't have the intelligence that seemingly the United States had executing what I thought was a flawless operation from my seat where I am just the other night. It was extraordinary in terms of its execution, in the terms of its integration of special operations, in terms of the intelligence and just the efficacy of the operation, in the fact that we didn't have to conduct an invasion. It was an executed surgical, essentially, detention and brought Maduro and his wife back to the United States to face justice. So there was a lot that was similar, but there was a lot that was different. And I should note, we lost 23 service members and 3 American civilians during Operation Just Cause, and we lost no one the other evening.
Point well made. You were intel for so many years, Chris. How was the CIA able to operate covertly in Venezuela and pull this off, even after President Trump publicly confirmed that he authorized the CIA to conduct covert ops back in October?
Right. I can only surmise, and as General Kane said, we have to be careful with the techniques, tactics, procedures. We don't want to share too much, but I would suspect, since there was a covert action finding, that meant that the intelligence community was completely postured to answer the outstanding intelligence requirements on the ground in Venezuela, meaning they had time to do the intelligence preparation and then build in rehearsals for special operations forces. That's exactly the kind of integration that took place in 20 plus years of executing raids against Al-Qaeda and ISIS. This was in this case, in the center of Caracas. So an extraordinary operation, but it would have been done by a great deal of preparation and probably individuals on the ground. If not U.S. individuals on the ground in advance, there would have been agents that would have been recruited by intelligence services from the United States. So as General Kane alluded to, NGA, National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, and CIA and other entities should be lauded for their integration and their execution the other night.
Got it. So 36 years ago, you guys captured Noriega alive. Now Maduro is captured alive. Is that always the goal? And what are the challenges of getting these guys out alive? And does that benefit us or benefit the U.S. strategically more if they are not dead?
It absolutely benefits the United States. First of all, our values, our ethos. If we can capture someone, we are obliged to do that. And in the case of Noriega, in the case of Maduro, it is outstanding that it will bring some justice to the fore, meaning Maduro will have his time to face, in all likelihood, a U.S. jury. And I think that will bring justice to this particular case. And let's not forget that we're talking about narco-terrorism. We're talking about terrorism-related offenses, just like Noriega, flirting with drug cartels and essentially operating outside of the bounds of international law.
While many people in Panama viewed Noriega's ouster as a path to stabilization and democracy, there's far more skepticism now about the future of Venezuela. As you know, it's far bigger, it's more complex. It's a nation beset by poverty, crime, active resistance. What are your thoughts?
Sure. First of all, great question. I mean, my thoughts are the beauty of the current situation, notwithstanding the arguments on all sides of this particular scenario. The beauty is there are no U.S. forces on the ground. So the United States can step back and consider all its instruments of state power, meaning diplomatic, intelligence, military options are still on the table, as I understand it, and economic sanctions, which will continue to be leveraged against Venezuela. So there are a lot of options, and the fact of the matter is we don't have U.S. forces on the ground. So the United States has an opportunity to leverage all of those instruments of state power.
Retired Army Colonel Chris Costa. Great to see you, Chris, and such great historical insight. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Kira. Happy New Year.